Hey, I'm CynDoll, and in this video we are going to talk about Ayurvedic medicine, that is Indian herbal medicine, and its history. This is a conversation I really didn't want to have because so many times when we come on my channel I'm always telling you what not to do. Well, I told you guys not to do this before, and now lo and behold, in 2025, are we surprised? Why are we surprised? Because I told you that this would happen.
Hello you guys. So as the title says, I have pretty much stopped using Ayurveda on my hair, with the exception of henna. You guys know that my hair has always been about Ayurvedic hair care, and when I first started this channel back in 2017, I had been using Ayurveda for about 6 months to a year at that point. And I initially learned about Ayurveda through Curly Proverbs, who, at least in my eyes, was pretty much the OG in bringing Ayurveda to the natural curly girl hair care community, and I ended up learning a lot from her. And by the time that I was creating my own videos, I started to create a bunch of my own recipes, a lot of hair masks, a lot of teas, a lot of hair rinses, things like that. And I was primarily using the herb fenugreek, and that is largely what I became known for, is the fenugreek girl, because I just loved it so much. And for the next 3 years, I was completely obsessed with Ayurveda, because up until that point, I had no idea how to take care of my hair.
But most of the women who have been telling you to put herbs in your hair are now switching their tune. Let's talk about why this should have never been something that you guys did, and why y'all should have listened to me in the first place. So let's unpack the wonderful history of Ayurvedic medicine and why so many women who ran to it are now running away from it, and everybody's going back to professional cosmetology. Let's unpack it. Ayurveda is an ancient Indian system of medicine that goes back over 5,000 years. The problem with social media is you guys like to hop on trends, and you like to take bits and pieces out of cultures without understanding the holistic practice. And the holistic practice, the word holistic practice means the whole thing. So it just can't be, oh, I'll take this product that they used to use here and this method that they used here and mix them up with my whole thing. Absolutely not. You need their full holistic practice, meaning you need to tackle the things that they put on the hair and the things that they put inside of the body and the way that their mind worked, right? The full holistic practice is your mind, your internal, and the full external body. So let's unpack. Their method of doing this comes from balancing the body's doshas. I'm pretty sure I said that wrong. So those are broken down into 3 different tiers. And here are the 3. I'm not going to try to pronounce these and destroy them, but these are the 3 sections that they're broken down into. The actual word Ayurveda comes from, the first word means life, and the second word means science or knowledge. So for everybody who's like anti-science and things of that nature, or if you believe that you can just take some of these herbs, throw them in your hair, then you are sadly mistaken, because the very word means knowledge of life. It means life science, or the science of life is literally what the word means. So if you're into Ayurveda and all of that, you need to be into science. So you cannot be dismissive of all of the things that I talk about on my channel, the bonds and all of those different things, and use Ayurvedic medicine, because the word literally means life science. But I digress. Let's keep going. As we move, y'all gonna see why I never wanted to talk about this. They looked at the view of health as overall balance of your life on an external and internal level. It wasn't just about putting herbs in your hair. Hair care was designed to strengthen, nourish, and promote natural hair growth from your natural hair growth cycle, meaning keeping that process from not being interrupted, not to make the hair grow, but making sure that nothing like an overgrowth of bacteria and things of that nature stop that process. Let's keep going. Herbs and oils and extracts, which we're going to talk about today, were prepared at home and used in a daily ritualistic practice, right? So even though when I say daily, I don't mean they were putting oils on their hair daily, but it was a part of a ritual. They were not just getting up in the morning and oiling their scalp because the girl on YouTube told them to. So number one, as I break down the certain patterns that they followed, I'll put the word that they use for it in parentheses under me as I'm speaking. So number one is going to be oil massage. As we go to all of these different things, I want you guys to look at the way that you all pick and choose which parts you want to listen to and how you throw away the parts that you feel like don't serve you. When it comes to dealing with somebody's cultural practice, you cannot do that. Now, the reason that they did oil massage is because it encouraged and began the process of blood flow and blood circulation. This is something that they did before the shampooing process, right? This is something that you would use to break up fatty deposits that are on the scalp, right? And you will also begin circulating that blood flow. You will begin, like, let's say the blood is laying dormant for a minute for whatever reason. It's not dormant, but you know what I mean. When you want to get that blood circulating right before the shampoo, right before a conditioning treatment, this is a preparation. And this is something that they did where it would be certain oils that they use, and it is all directed to create and to increase the blood circulation within the follicle. The oil isn't doing it. The oil is just making the hands glide smoothly as you are doing the scalp massage. But I need y'all to understand that they were not putting these oils and butters and greases and all of that in their scalps and leaving them there. They were putting them in the scalp and leaving it for a maximum of 25 to 30 minutes and then shampooing it out. You've never seen a woman, an Indian woman with really stringy hair. You have it. Stringy, oily hair. You have it. They always have weightless hair, and the shampoo comes after the oil scalp massage. Here are a few common oils that they would use. Coconut oil, and it had common properties for the certain part. I think it's for a certain part. I'm gonna put the word right there. I'm not saying none of that stuff wrong. Sesame oil was warming and grounding for this part of the body. This oil was known as the king of hair and was known for promoting hair growth and reducing hair fall. Amla oil, which is rich in vitamin Z and helps to kill the bacteria overgrowth that ends up causing dandruff, right? Some cleansing herbs are soap nut. It foams really on its own, has a natural cleansing property. This one here, which is a natural detangler and conditioner. And neem, which is antifungal and antibacterial for scalp health. I've read through quite a few different things. We're not gonna go too deep into that. If you want to know more about some of my favorite Ayurvedic herbs, then make sure you head over to my blog. Where I break it down a little further there, right? But that's not what we're here for. The problem is most of the time you guys read these things and you'll just see a herb and be like, okay, I'm gonna put this in my hair, not understanding the full holistic practice, right? Most of the time you guys get online and you'll see like, oh, they put herbs in their hair like this, so I'm gonna put herbs in my hair the same way. Where no, that's not what they were doing. The majority of the time, I need you to know that they had real life medicine men and women. I need you to know that they had real life medicine women just like myself. They had real life apothecaries there, and I need you to know that they were not just getting herbs, getting a pot of oil, putting the herbs in the oil and then calling it a day. Absolutely not. That's not not how things went. They made extracts and tinctures. They either used things like glycerin or different forms of alcohol and all types of things to extract the key constituents out of every herb, right? The key constituent, I'll put the definition here, but basically it's all of the little pieces that make something like amla oil, right? So if I was to say amla oil is rich in vitamin C, vitamin C is one of the key constituents of amla, right? But what happens is we get online, and instead of us saying, okay, let me really sit down and study the rich history of these herbs and how to use them properly, the first thing you do is say, okay, I'm just gonna get it, boil it on the stove and put it in my hair. Absolutely not. It does not work that way. And one thing that people don't understand, and one reason that so many people across social media are experiencing balding and thinning and their hair is getting crunchy. We're talking about Ayurvedic hair care. The oils and things of that nature that they use were not something that they use as something like an everyday application. These oils and herbs that they use were for treatments to treat specific ailments. Not just to put in your hair because it's Wednesday. There were certain herbs that did lather like a shampoo, but they were not just taking that herb, putting it in a pot of water and then scrub and then putting it in their hair. No, there was a certain extraction process with these herbs, and then they put these additives and they put these additives into other products, right? Making their own shampoos and conditioners. But as time progresses, as things move along, chemists now, modern day chemists, do the same exact type of alchemy. Some of them do the same exact type of alchemy that was being done thousands of years ago. But now, instead of like in some secret alchemist lab, now they're in a scientific lab, right, where they're taking herbs and making different extracts and tinctures. Where it becomes a problem is the commercialization of herbs and things of that nature. But to just use these herbs the way that these girls have been telling y'all to use them on YouTube is the reason for so much scalp inflammation, for so much balding, right? In this video, we're not going to play the whole thing here, but we will on CynDoll TV coming soon. But one thing that you guys will notice is this person here in this video, they are talking about how different things dry their hair out and certain things of that nature. They also talk about henna. Henna is another thing from Ayurveda. Henna is not supposed to go in the hair. One thing that drives me absolutely insane when it comes to herbs in general, remember 5-6 years ago or 8 or 9 years ago when Team Natural first came around, nobody cared anything about herbs. But as soon as everybody stopped talking about Team Natural, now everybody wants to jump on herbs and they want to use the same type of non-reading and making up stuff. You want to bring that same stuff over to this, and it doesn't work that way, because when it comes to over time, scientists and chemists end up learning from the scientists and the chemists that came before them and their mistakes. But what you guys do, you'll see, oh, they used to do it in India without looking at the mistakes. What y'all don't understand is, while adding oils and butters and stuff like that to the hair, absolutely, yes, they used to do it. But they did it for treatment purposes and treatment purposes only. These oils and butters and creams and all of the different things that they were making were for treatments. They were putting them on the scalp, using them, and then shampooing them off, getting them off. No, they were not using oil to shampoo. They use herbs that lathered, right? Check the link in the description box below. I've made a video all about that herb. But see, the thing is, it doesn't give you guys the instant gratification that you need, so most people aren't going to click on it. Most people didn't watch it because it was just telling you what it was about. But Ayurvedic medicine and herbs has never been meant to just boil stuff, boil herbs or boil tea on the stove and then put it in your hair. It's the worst thing you can do. But because of all of these these girls that you see, and because their hair is curly and long, you're like, oh my God, she knows what she's talking about, so I'm gonna listen to her, because if her hair looks like this and she's putting these teas in her hair, then it must work. And that's not true. It's not. I need you to understand, while yes, women from India still do put oils and stuff like that in their hair, they have alopecia too. And what's crazy, I remember getting a comment, somebody was like, oh well, who told you that ancient people used to be bald? It was something else. It was like bear oil or something like that, and they were like, oh, indigenous Americans, you know, the indigenous people of America used to use that in their hair. And I was like, yeah, and they also had alopecia. And she's like, oh, have you ever seen a picture of an indigenous person with alopecia? And it's like, y'all, alopecia is not new. Alopecia goes back to ancient times. And you want to know who had alopecia back then? People who were using oils and greases and butters on their scalp, because nothing goes on the scalp but shampoo unless you're trying to cure an infection. These herbal complexes that they use, when you really go look in these journals, they were using extracts. They were not just taking pure oil from random coconut trees and putting it in their hair with a bunch of herbs. No, they were masterful scientists and chemists. They were extracting the key constituents of these herbs. For example, with this Cynple Apothecary, we have a whole portal of extracts. Can these extracts go directly on the scalp? Yes, but I don't make videos about them, and I do not market them towards you guys on my YouTube channel as products that can do that, because I'm aware that you guys do not follow directions, you do not listen, and I am not going to be held liable for what happens if you don't, what you won't follow directions, right? For example, when it comes to an extract, if we're talking about an intense bacterial infection, right? One of the most powerful things that you can use on your scalp for that type of infection, right, is peppermint, right? So with my Zen gut powder blend and all of its different key constituents, it is amazing for scalp detoxification. It is freaking amazing at killing bacteria in the scalp and so many other things. But I do not and will not make a video about it here on YouTube, maybe on the CynDoll network, because nobody's gonna follow directions. You guys are gonna take the bottle and put the stuff on the cotton ball and put it right on your scalp, and you're gonna go bald 2 seconds later. Let's take this lemon balm elixir for an example, right? You would use this lemon balm, you could use this lemon balm to cure certain types of scalp infections. Most people be like, oh, this little bottle, I ain't gonna get to do nothing with this. Girl, bye. This is so potent, it doesn't make sense. All you would do is get this droplet, and you wouldn't need to fill it all, you wouldn't even need to fill this all the way up to the top. You can see we have lemon balm pieces in there, right? All you would do is take about a tablespoon of this, mix it with about 3 cups of water, right? Shake it up, and then that's something that you can apply to the scalp. Leave capped for about 15, no longer than 30 minutes, and then do your shampooing process. That is how they use herbs in Ayurvedic medicine. They were not just taking oil, drenching the scalp in it and all of those things. And let me say this, that's not true. Some people did, but I need y'all to understand that, like I said, alopecia goes back centuries. So they had alopecia too. Have you ever heard of sebaceous cysts? Let's look at this video. As you've just seen in these last couple of videos, none of these women were black. All of them had certain practices where they're oiling and greasing the scalp on a regular basis, and eventually they get alopecia, sebaceous cysts, and things of that nature. From you looking at all of the videos on people getting sebaceous cysts extracted from their scalp, none of these people were black, right? None of them. So I need y'all to understand, oils and butters do not go on the scalp. A sebaceous cyst is literally when your sebaceous gland creates too much sebum, which is an actual oil that it needs, and it gets blocked and mixed up with a whole bunch of different oils, butters, greases, your sweat, and different things, different outside elements, it gets mixed up in there, and then it forms a cyst. Make sure you watch the full video linked in the description box below, because I have a full video about sebaceous cysts. And most people who swear by Ayurvedic medicine are either suffering from sebaceous cysts right now under the skin, or are developing sebaceous cysts. A lot of women are like, oh my god, my scalp is dry. Your scalp is dry because most likely your follicle is blocked. Most likely, if you're a person who adds oil to your hair, once that oil like wears down and all wipes off, your hair is drier before you put the oil on. And that is because nothing goes on the scalp but shampoo, unless you're trying to cure an infection. And those infections, even though yes, in ancient times there are dockets and there are records of some women of other races that are mixing oils and butters and putting them in their hair. The problem is black women have this tendency to idolize any woman who has long hair without looking at the pros and the cons of the way that they got long hair. They did not get long hair from mixing oils in their hair, nor did they get long hair from mixing butters and things of that nature in their hair. Look at their whole holistic practice. The way that they eat, the way that they move, the way that they work out, the things that they ingest into the body, the things that they put on the body. These are things that you have to take into consideration. As we've been talking on the screen, there have been certain reviews that have popped up. In this review right here, you can see that there's multiple women. One said that, you know, now she finally stopped fighting it, right? And she finally just went all in and just stopped doing all of the extra stuff and just followed my simple steps, and then boom, there she goes, she's in there. It's the main reasons that everybody is like upside down and blaming Organics and all of these other companies for things is because every time somebody pops out with something that y'all should try, y'all jump on it. The word Ayurvedic means life science or life education. So if you're going to get into Ayurvedic medicine, that means that you need to get into the education of science. You need to get into life science, because that's what the word means. And so how can a bunch of women who are into life science medicine all be just randomly putting herbs and stuff in their hair? Do y'all not understand that herbs are to kill microorganisms that kill good and bad bacteria? And for you to have a healthy hair growth cycle, you need a balance of good and bad bacteria. So at first everything will feel good, but after you kill all that excessive bad bacteria, then you begin to kill the bad bacteria that you need. Then you begin to kill the good bacteria that you need. So the things that come to attack you from the environment outside of you, you can't combat, because herbs are amazing. As an herbalist, it gets on my everlasting nerves, and I am so happy that y'all are getting off this Ayurvedic hair care tip, because using herbs in your hair has to be one of the worst things that you could possibly do. I'd rather y'all keep adding fruits and vegetables and mixing fruits and vegetables up in y'all hair, even though that's dumb too. I'd rather you do that than you put herbs and stuff in your hair. Did you know that certain herbs shouldn't even touch the skin? Certain herbs should never even touch the skin. Certain herbs shouldn't even be ingested into the body. Some herbs are only for external uses and have to be prepared a very specific way. But y'all don't know that, because all it takes is for somebody with really long hair to get online and say, put this in your hair, and then everybody's gonna do it. But when we're talking about Ayurvedic medicine, you need to first learn about all of these different herbs individually. I always tell you guys about one of my favorite books, right? Start getting books and reading on these herbs. Read on their key constituents. Read on the pros and the cons. All y'all do is focus on the pros. Nobody knows the cons, and the cons is what's kicking y'all ass right now. Excessive or heavy oils clog the follicles, leading to the growth and formation of sebaceous cysts. like the ones that you just saw in the video clip that we just played. Heavy oils like coconut and sesame seed oils end up showing this. So you guys are like, oh, in ancient Ayurvedic, yes. And guess what? In modern times, scientists have retested some of their tests and found that even though coconut oil does have these binding properties where coconut oil ends up binding to protein, yes, it binds to protein and it will keep water trapped within your hair, absolutely. But guess what else it'll do? It'll bind to the follicle, because guess what? The protein that is your hair that is binding to, guess what? Your hair is inside of your follicle too. So the coconut oil binds to the protein that's in the follicle, blocking the follicle and making a way for a sebaceous cyst to form. So yes, they were putting coconut oil in the hair, but they were also experiencing alopecia and sebaceous cysts in modern times. If you go in and really talk to a real dermatologist that doesn't sell products, right, that dermatologist is going to tell you that all you're doing by adding oil is feeding all of the yeast and bacteria that lives on your scalp. You're not doing anything. When in Ayurvedic medicine, they were not using oils, they were using extracts, right? So when they say, oh, I'm using burdock root, it's not just burdock root oil, no. And when you see burdock root oil or certain oils, most of the time the oil is a carrier, and then there'll be the extract that'll be put in there. And so that's why it'll say burdock root oil, but in reality it's just an oil carrying the burdock root extract. And that's something that y'all need to understand. It's not, oh, they were just drenching their scalps in oil. No, they were using it in its purest form. And if they did use the oil was a carrier that they carried the medicine that was that herb and its key constituents, massaging it into the scalp and then shampooing it out. This was a regular practice, and I'm sorry, but women who only shampoo their hair once every 3 months cannot share practices with a woman who's shampooing her hair every 2 days or every other day. It makes no logical sense. You don't have the same amount of microflora on the scalp. You don't have the same forms of yeast on the scalp. Nothing's the same. Nothing's the same. Not to mention, their bodies and our bodies their body and your body are producing two completely different types of microflora. You know why? The things that you put in your gut and the things that you put in your body and the things that she puts in her gut and the things she puts in her body are two completely different things. So the way that something's gonna work on your scalp and the way it's gonna work on her scalp are two completely different things. It makes no sense. But because y'all are not really into Ayurvedic medicine, none of y'all were ever into Ayurvedic medicine. Nobody ever was. Ayurvedic medicine means life education. That's what it means. That's what it translates to. Life science or life education is what it translates to. None of you guys ever educated yourself on nothing. Y'all only knew the pros. No one ever knew the cons. So now all of the cons are coming up to teach you by hand, by example, right? So instead of you running to products to fix these things, why don't you just pull it all back, do a full detox, undo the things that you've done in the past and start over and really get into Ayurvedic medicine for real. Really get into life science for real. Really get into the science of the human body. I wish y'all would really get into Ayurvedic medicine. I really wish y'all really would study life science for real. Because Ayurvedic medicine was like, okay, let me study the body. And by studying the body, okay, you have an overgrowth of this form of bacteria. Ayurvedic medicine is saying, okay, what herb is going to kill this bacteria that they have in the scalp, that is overgrown in the scalp, right? So then once they get down and they start doing their research, Ayurvedic medicine and their studies will show them, okay, peppermint is great for that. So then they take peppermint extract and they'll take the peppermint extract and put it either in an oil or water, which I recommend, purified water. They'll put it on the scalp, cover it for about up to 30 minutes, shampoo it off, and finish with their simplistic hair practices that don't cause buildup. But see, y'all are the complete opposite. You aren't following anything, you just boiling it in a pot, and the amount of key constituents you pull out of boiling the herb and the amount of key constituents you pull doing an extraction process are two completely different things. They are two completely different things. Your pot of oil, your pot of tea is only gonna last on the stove for so many hours, whereas this bottle is gonna last you for a couple of years. It's two completely different things. They're very different processes, right? So by you really sitting down and studying life science for real with Ayurvedic medicine, then you'll be good. By once again, you know, okay, you have a scalp inflammation. Once I sit down and assess your scalp and I look at it and I see what bacteria it is, then I can look and go deeper into Ayurvedic I can go deep into Ayurvedic medicine, which is life science. I can go deeper into life science and see which herb is going to suit that. One herb that kills a certain form of bacteria that lives on the scalp is peppermint. So then that Ayurvedic doctor or practitioner is going to say, okay, well, this is the regimen that you follow. We're going to use this peppermint extract, 2 drops of it into 2 cups of water, this amount of time, this many days a week, and let's give it a couple of months for this bacteria to die off, and then we're going to start this up. That's how it goes. Ayurvedic medicine has never been, oh boy, that put it in your hair and then everything gonna be good. That's all they did. No, absolutely not. And nobody has to argue about it. We can see at this point, everybody's been trying all of this stuff out, buying all of the tea bags, putting all of the stuff in your hair, and has it worked? Regardless of what anybody says, you having oils and butters on your scalp, you having oils on your scalp overnight, you massaging those oils into the scalp all the time, it blocks the follicle and it encourages the overgrowth and overpopulation of the different forms of yeast and bacteria that live on the scalp naturally. I'm sorry, I don't care what anybody says. Oiling the scalp, you putting oil in the scalp, even it drives me insane. Even when I see braiders get done braiding people's hair and then squeeze a crap load of oil in their hair. If you are a woman who your hair has been great, it's been doing good for years, and you've been using the oils and stuff for years, everything's okay, and then out of nowhere, slowly you're noticing your hair is thinning out, well, the oil is why. Oils and butters do not go in your hair. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how offended you are by me saying this. If you look on the screen as I'm talking, you can see so many women who felt the way that you feel right now and just decided, I don't lose anything. I don't lose anything listening to her. I actually gain listening to her. So actually, let me just give it a break and stop putting oils in my hair for a minute and stop putting butters in my hair for a minute, and let's see what happens. These are women in their 60s who are like, girl, I've been doing this for a long time and I've stopped using oils and butters and my bald spots are coming back. They're thickening back up. I don't care what anyone says. And there was this one comment that I had, I'll leave it here, and she said that she left a comment on somebody's page. I have no idea who she was talking to. If the person knows who I'm talking about, you're a fan and you're here on my page, I don't be on your page, but I guess she left this comment, and it's a long one, so I'll try to break it up and put it on the screen. She left this comment saying that, you know, she doesn't think oil goes on the scalp, and she basically thinks he should stop, or he or she should stop. They should stop sharing this and telling people this, because they were listening to it and they was adding oils and butters and all of that stuff to the scalp, and they're like, oh well, after doing my research and after talking to doctors and cosmetologists and things of that nature, they're right. Oils don't go on the scalp. And when I stopped, this went away. And when I started back up, it came back. And the person's response to her was like, oh, you just not adding the oils right. You just not doing it right. You just don't know what you're doing. This is the thing. Y'all can make a decision to listen to whoever y'all want to listen to. But what I need you to take from this video, and even the person who I added in here, if y'all know who it is, y'all know who it is. I'm blurring their face out and changing their voice because I don't have time to have another episode of the Megs Got Legs, right? So I'm blanking her face out and stuff, but I need y'all to understand that the women that y'all have been listening to, the women whose information y'all have been making Bible verse, they're all coming back and telling y'all, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. You know, the thing that you've made your life, I'm not going to do that anymore because it's not doing good on my hair. Just like henna. You meet a professional cosmetologist, especially a professional colorist, and you mention the word henna, they're going to start twitching, because people who just looked up Ayurvedic medicine, all they see is that you can add henna to your hair and it changes the color. But because you're not really into Ayurvedic medicine, you don't understand what henna really does. And that's what irritates me about everybody who's, I'm in Ayurvedic medicine. No, you're not. Stop saying that. Say, I like putting herbs in my hair because Ayurvedic means life science. You're not into life science, because if you were, you would know that henna binds to protein. Once henna is in your hair, there is no getting it out. The only way you can get henna out of your hair is to either grow it out, cut it out, or to get it removed by a professional colorist, and it's gonna cost you a pretty penny because it is a pain in the ass. So much so that most professional colorists will not touch your hair if you have henna, no matter how much money you pay them. I am one of those cosmetologists that it does not matter how much money you had. You can have gold dripping from your booty hole and I'm still not touching your hair with a pole if it has henna in it. It's that bad. Like, even down to like flat ironing and stuff, I would not service people who had henna in their hair because it's too much of a liability. However, people who here on YouTube are playing in their hair, making videos for y'all to watch as they're playing in y'all hair, as they're playing in their hair, y'all are following right along with them. And now here we go, everybody's a bald head skittle diddle, missing hair in the middle, when in reality all anybody really had to do was go and actually get into life science, really get into life science and really start to study the human body. Ayurvedic medicine is not about getting herbs and oils and drinking them, herbs and oils and putting it in your hair. No, it was about life science, meaning what they're going to do is look at all of the different aspects of life, from the way that you eat, the way that you think, spiritually, the way that you move, what you doing to your hair, oils, butters, the earth, and how all of these things come together in your life. Life science, life education is what Ayurvedic medicine is. You can educate yourself on life and the complexity of it. The moon, the stars, the water, the herbs, the earth that's around you, and what God put here to fix different elements that pop up in your life. That's what Ayurvedic medicine is about.